Hey guys, it's Greg with the Shooter's Mindset. I'm here today playing host as Jennifer is busy working. We got Corey, our co-host, here with us. How are you doing tonight, Corey?
Super good. Getting ready to shoot the next 3 days.
Very nice. Then we have Ruth Soucie. How are you doing this evening? I'm here today.
Good.
Host. Very nice. This is Greg with the Shooter's Mindset. I'm here today playing host. Okay, we're good. No, we're not good. Okay, we're anyway. And then we have
This is where you appreciate Jen even more, Greg.
Normally this
And every good man is a better woman. There you go.
Yeah, normally this is the part where I'm muted and the stuff that auto pops up on the other screen, nobody can hear that. Forgot about that part. But anyway, before we get deep into what we're here to talk about today, we'll go ladies first. Ruth, you may not have been around the sport for decades, but you're no little detail in the precision rimfire community. Tell us a bit about your background, how you got into competitive shooting, and all of the things that you do in the shooting world nowadays.
Yeah. Let's see where to start. I've been competitively shooting for not quite 4 years yet. Started in NRL 22 in 2019. Got heavily involved in that. And now at this point, I'm hosting the NRL 22 podcast. I'm on the board of directors for NRL 22, or board of advisors, sorry. And I recently just joined the Applied Ballistics Ambassadors program. So I'm pretty excited about that stuff.
Congrats.
Thank you. I'm having fun. I was like, now I'm actually going to have to learn how to set up my Kestrel and help other people do it. So, I just basically copied just the profile previously. I was like, I got good to go. So no, I know a little bit, but now I'm going to have to dive in, which is good. It's good for me. But that was an easy ad because those guys are really the only ones doing what they do right now in the sport in terms of digging into the data, which is really cool. So yeah, that's what I got going on.
Plug for Chad Heckler, because I think the best video online on YouTube that I've watched to give you a background on how to use your Kestrel in a calm Midwestern Great Lakes voice is he's got one on there that I share with new shooters. If they need to know how to figure out their Kestrel, I go to Heckler's videos. Send it to them. So
That's super cool.
Yep.
So tell us about you.
Yeah, so as you saw from or people probably saw from my profile picture for the USA team, I'm eating a donut. So I'm kind of a factor at heart. I started shooting. I took up shooting because my dad would take me to like local 3-position matches, like little NRA club. But afterwards, we would go get apple dumplings. So I figured out if I keep going to shoot, I get apple dumplings. Right. So
Sounds like a good
we
deal.
go every Wednesday night to local clubs since I was probably 12 years old and shoot 3-position. Just loved it. Good camaraderie, even with like the 3-position indoor club, and never stopped. So I've been shooting since I was competitively since I was 12 or 13. I can't remember how old it was, but it was right around then. I'm trying to think what grade I was in, but so 3-position, 4-position, service rifle, and then got out of the service and started shooting this stuff. So kind of took it on as kind of like a fun kind of little play on shooting. Like my dad and I both got semi-automatic Anschutz MXRs, which are like a SCAR version of a 22. We would shoot.
Really?
This is Peacemaker out in West Virginia, if everyone's familiar where that's at. They good facility, right? Great matches. Kind of started shooting there, and that's 6 or 7 years ago. We would shoot semi-automatics with like CCI Velociter with like a Nikon BDC Red. And it was just a blast. Like, I wanted something. I've always shot a competitive sport to where I shot it and didn't enjoy it. Like I got to the point where I'd be mad at myself if I didn't shoot perfect every single time. And that's the thing I love about this sport is there is no perfect 600, perfect 300, perfect 400 every time. Like if you shoot a perfect match every time, it's an anomaly, right? But a lot of other shooting disciplines, especially indoor things where you control environmentals, you look for that perfect result every time. And if you don't get it, sometimes it's hard to mentally to deal with it. But that's what I love about the PRS and NRL and that style of shooting is it takes your ego, squashes it, and it says, okay, it's not going to be perfect every time, right?
Right, yeah.
That's kind of what I like about it.
But I guess the counterpoint to that
kept me shooting.
is, yeah, when you do get that perfect stage and that perfect run, that's when it makes it sweeter, right? Because you're
Mhm.
not going for it every week. Or if like you drop the shot, like, okay, the match is over. Or like you're trying to get that feeling of, man, I did everything right on just that stage. You try to make it
Mhm.
the next time is the match. It's cool.
Yeah,
It's
part
an
of the
interesting
challenge,
way of,
it's like staying in the right mindset if you do make a mistake and fighting
yeah.
your way the rest of the match, especially if you're in a 2-day match, because you can come back from a bad stage, which is like you just have to shift your mental game to accommodate.
Yeah, you
So
come back from a bad day, right?
Mhm.
yeah.
Um,
You guys both dwell on it the entire time, really focus on just that mistake and get angry about
Yes, it helps.
it. No, so what do you do, right?
point. I don't count a point, never. That's one thing I learned. If people ask you what you're shooting, one of the best shooters I know, if you ask him what he shoots, he says he's clean. And you believe it because he's that good. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
took
Yeah.
on his mentality. People ask me what I shoot, I just say I'm clean. Because in my mind, everything point forward is clean. Everything behind me is written out on paper. I'll look back at it later.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Same. I've had a few matches where there were just external things going on, like at the NRL 22 finale last year, my body was trying to kill me. I had appendicitis and I didn't know it. I just didn't feel good. So I was like, well, this is going to be me trying to fight through this because there's going to be a time in my competitive career where I'm going to run into a situation I don't have control over, and I'm going to have to continue to perform to the best of my ability under those circumstances. So, I've had a couple other matches since then that, either the weather, wind wasn't cooperating with me, or, something else was going on. I threw out my back in one and I was like, I'm just going to fight through it and I'm going to try the best I can at each stage. And I just take it one stage at a time and forget about what happened before because I don't have control over it. So what I can control, like Gregg said, it's already done and over with. What I can control is how I approach the next stage, and how I perform there. So focusing on one at a time is kind of what I try to do.
Okay. Are y'all both serious at matches or do you like just in the middle of the stage, like just look over at someone like while you're shooting, give them a little kiss or something? I don't know. Just like, is it always that like focused mindset or do you use like humor and just breaking up the nerves in a certain way, or is that just not your style?
you want to go first, Ruth? Or you want me?
Yeah.
Sure.
So for me, it depends really on the match. If we're in a long match situation, I have to break away in between stages. While I'm shooting the stage for the 2 minutes I'm on the stage, I'm focused.
Okay.
Like if you remember stealing my GoPro, you recorded me on a stage last year and I didn't even know you were there until I was totally done shooting the stage.
I mean,
So that
yeah,
was
how could
fun.
you forget?
I left it somewhere. That was a mistake. I'm going to publish that video, by the way. I just have to compile it first. So
There's a lot of good videos on there.
yeah, we're going to share that with the world. It's too special for me to keep it for myself. So I try to focus in during that 2 minutes. I know tons of people know this about me because I talk about it quite a bit. I deal with ADHD at an extreme level when it comes to this sport. I feel like a lot of us have it, which is interesting because it's also like the most challenging thing in the world, like the most challenging activity you could choose for someone who struggles with ADHD is this sport because you need to focus on what you're doing. And if people are having a conversation around me, it'll pull me out of that moment. And it's made me miss shots before. So I was at the Rimfire revival in Utah a few weeks ago, and my team was really chatty. It was later in the day. This was an exhausting match. It was like crazy conditions, wet, snow, deep snow, blocks of ice, walking through the mountains this whole time.
Mhm.
And we got to this stage later in the day and it was the time stage. And, I'm just going through it and I was like, hey guys, I love you. you're wonderful people, but you're being really loud right now. And I'm like in the middle of the stage yelling at them basically. But I meant it not in a nice way, because in addition to the fact that, I have a hard time when other people are talking, I'm always the one that's talking to somebody behind somebody else shooting. So like, I'm not mad at people. I just sometimes need a little reminder so I can get focused in on what I'm doing. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. So I was at a match, and it was a good friend of mine, Paul. He shoots X matches with me, and there was a new youth shooter there. It was stage 1, pretty easy stage, in his bunker, and like railroad tie bunker, and he's telling the youth shooter what I'm doing while I'm doing it, and it's quiet. He's like, "All right, Greg is getting down. He's got his rear support," and I couldn't get him out of my ear. Like, through my life of me, I couldn't think about what I need to do because I'm thinking about what he's saying I'm doing. It was the oddest experience ever, right? So, hey, competitors, want to get my head? Give me the rundown on what I'm doing while I'm doing it. But it was interesting. But most shoots, I go into I shoot so much because I'm shooting 4 to 5 matches a month that I pick what I'm going to concentrate on. So, because I think there's a little bit of you get a little bit of a fatigue of like mental concentration, right? So, can you give it 100% mental 5-6 matches a month and make that your normal? I don't think it's sustainable. So I give myself like, here's a day I'm going to focus on a friend. Here's a day I'm going to focus on people in my squad. Here's a day my wife comes with me, and I'm gonna focus on her, right? And some of those matches I'll pull my score. Like, I'll shoot a match, I focused on my friend and my wife, I pull my score. I don't even put it in because it's not representing how I shot. I just kind of shot for fun. Other ones, if I give it my all, it stays in, right? So I try to pick a few matches where I want to win this one. I want to win by 6, and let's do it. So I've got those bookmarked in my mind for the year, which ones I want to compete at that level at. And then I prepare for those ones, and everything else is preparation for those. So that's kind of how I look at it. I pick probably 5 or 6 that I'm going to work at 100%, and then the rest I try to train at 80% mental on a match. So
Okay. So obviously there's a big match coming up. It's going to be on your list. What is it? Tell us about it, right?
Here's my list. I've never won a Yeti match. I've come so close. I've been like a couple tenths beside the best shooter in the United States, which I believe is Chris Simmons. Consistently, there's a tight top 3. Chris, Paul, Justin, tight top 3. They're so tight. But I was so close one time, and that's probably the match I want to win most, because there's a very Ben Blevins puts it on in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Very high level of competition comes to it. That's the first one I want to try to win. The second one, I think, is a match I've never been to before, and that's in Minnesota. Probably the biggest Rimfire match right there beside probably Levi Wilson's match. He's got a pretty big match I'm into, but it's another high level. Lots of good shooters come to it. I'm focused on that. And I'm focused on NRL Championship, Worlds, and then PRS. So the regionals. That's kind of my big 5 right there. But what about you, Ruth?
Yeah. So we got the NRL 22 championship coming up in July, which I'm just going to use as a prep for Worlds. But really, my focus right now is doing what I need to do at whatever matches I get to focus in and try to bring home that world title. So the IPRF World Rimfire Championship is happening in Italy at the end of August. I think it's Gregg, you're gonna have to help me out because I got the dates wrong before. It's the
I got you.
28th.
August 28th through September 4th.
Okay.
There's a string of stuff happening inside of there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're sending a team of 22 over to Italy to represent the US, which we're pretty excited about. And so that's basically been my focus this year is, I've got some matches I'm going to get to as many as I can. We are hosting the one that Gregg's coming to in Minnesota, which if you haven't signed up yet and you plan on it, you better message me because we sold out a couple of times now. I added 1 slot per squad, but we're at 109 shooters right now registered and
Nice.
ROs. So
middle of nowhere, Minnesota too. That's the thing.
yeah, yep, it's gonna be a good time. And then we're gonna have 8 members of Team USA competing in that match, and then 10 of us obviously will be there because Justin and I are hosting. So we're gonna do a class the next day too, which is also a fundraiser for us that are going over to Italy. So if people want to sign up for that, we still have spots in the class. If you want to sign up for the class, I might be able to sneak you into the match too if you want to come and make a weekend of it. But yeah, that's what we're focusing in on, is getting our team ready, getting us over to Italy, and it should be a really good time. I'm excited. We've got a great group of people that are going, including an all-female team of youth shooters.
Saw
So
that.
excited about
A
that.
lot of good shooters.
Yeah,
A lot of good
Wow.
shooters that could possibly win the match.
absolutely.
Very much so. Very
So that
much
class
Just
kinda
like our
sounds a little
ladies last
interesting.
year in center fire, I felt our lady team that went to France could have won the whole thing. I mean, those girls were they're amazing shooters, bar none. They win 2 days and they win 1 day here. So, you know, shout out
Yeah,
to
yeah.
those 3 girls.
Yeah. So the process of picking the teams, right? How did that happen? And like, as far as representing the US, is that something that like y'all have really had set in? Like you're going across the world to represent Team USA?
So I'm going to let Gregg speak to the selection process, because he was actually one of the advisors on, how to choose the criteria. So you can get into that. As far as representing the US goes, it's a really humbling experience. Everyone's rooting for us and wants us to go, sweep the podium. And I'm
Right.
fully intend on doing that. However, it's a lot of
The high
pressure,
bar.
right? So, that has not escaped me, that I can't not perform at this match. So I'm excited about it. But yeah, it's definitely, in the back of my mind, there's a lot of people back home that are rooting for us.
Yeah. I try not to put too much pressure on it. I mean, the biggest thing is get over there, get acclimated. It's another match. We compete against the highest level almost every time we come out nowadays. I mean, everyone's traveling, everyone's shooting. So one thing I try to tell myself, I try to use it as a way to push myself to train more. Like I'm a guy that needs competition to train. Like if
Okay.
I don't have competition, I'm not going to put the reps in. So knowing that I have responsibility, it's going to make me work harder too. So to go into kind of like how we worked on selecting the team, how we kind of came up with a methodology for it. So our president, Gregg Bell, you guys know Gregg, sure, right? Great guy,
Hey, dude.
Arkansas. Hopefully he's listening, watching. But he formed a committee. So it was myself, Justin, and Paul Dolan. So you've kind of got a good representation of West Coast, Central, East Coast. You've got all 3 of us shoot both series, NRL and PRS, right? Especially this last year, we were at all 3 of us were at both national championships. So you've got a good representation to look at like both perspectives, right? And then we kind of looked at what does it look like as far as how tight it's going to be, right? So how do you pick a good methodology? How do you find a good way to pick matches that are meaningful? So we looked at what we landed on. I'll tell you how we made the sausage, but what we landed on was your best national championship, right? So you had 2 years back, you'd have 2 PRS matches, 2 NRL championships, right? So you got 4 to choose from. You could pick your one best. And then you also had your 2 best 1 days. And those 1 days are either PRS regional finales. So there's like 18 of them in 2 years.
Yeah.
And NRL's 22 matches that are greater than 50 people. And that put it at like 20 matches and 18 matches, depending on if you only shot once. If you only shot one, you had one membership. You shot that one. We want to make sure people have like an even chance of getting in, right? You don't weight it one way or the other. And it really worked out well.
Right.
Like, I think if you look at our team, you take the time to look at where those people shot, out of the top 10, you have around out of the 21, everyone's probably a member of, almost everyone's a member of both, right? You have very few out of the top 10, maybe like two people that are members of only one of them on either side. So we ended up, in my opinion, getting it right. Super tight. If you look at our factory division, we've got 3 of the 4 people with 287s. That's their score. 287.8 to 287.7. So we got it down to where no matter what you shot, it was weighted evenly. We took the time-based points out of NRL, and we also looked at a weighted hit percent and a weighted percent of number of shooters at the match, just to make sure we got it right. Because if you end up looking at what we have, I mean, you've got tenths of a point between factory shooters. Like the top 4 were from 300 to 298. I mean, it was just so tight, the competition for folks. And we had over 50 people apply. So, I mean, it's very tight, very competitive. You got to get that right. I mean, you got one chance to do it right the first time. So we put a lot of time, all 3 of us did, and bouncing back on ideas back and forth, talking to each other, everything. So it was a group effort all the way. And I think that I believe we got it right. We'll see what we do in 2 years and how it changes, but the sport's going to change in 2 years, and the match types are going to change in 2 years.
Oh, for sure,
We're
yeah.
gonna have more options. So
I think the biggest thing that I saw when you guys announced that was if you were to take the teams that you announced, I could see any one of those people winning the match, right? And that's the goal. So you can't argue like those are the best shooters. Like you could put them in any match in any place in the country, which is more or less what you did.
Yeah.
And you could expect one of them to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tim Nowak, our senior, qualified for Open.
Right. Yeah.
Ahead of me. I mean, just stud, solid stud. Top 5 2 years in a row at the PRS Championship. I mean, solid guy, very good person, mentors youth shooters. I mean, and nicely went to a senior spot. I mean, he could have took an Open spot. I mean, just
right.
I mean, when you have a senior that shoots a 293 as a score going into the Worlds, man, that's a lot of work he put in, and testament to Francis's region too. He's done a lot of work to mentor shooters up there. So,
yeah. And I think to that point on the seniors, you've got the kind of classic example of the lady junior shooter that can also win the match. And in our just club series, right? Kate Estes, who's on the team, is number 2 overall in both Centerfire and Rimfire. So 3 matches in, she's number 2 in both series. So that I really do think that the sport is at that point where the level of talent is getting to be so good that you really have to be top level to get in these spots, especially the next 2-year cycle.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's pretty cool too. But
she's 16. She made the ladies team. So that's pretty cool too to see.
Yeah, I think you guys did an awesome job of getting this team together. You know, last year for Centerfire, everything was so rushed. Like just the fact that many people, thanks to Angela's aim, were able to logistically make their way to France. So you guys had the time, and Justin just commented, he said that you're being humble. You put a ton of work into compiling all the data that was used to come up with selection criteria, which I think is why there's, you know, I haven't heard anybody complain about anything really that you guys have done to come up with this team. I think you guys did excellent at that.
I'm a data nerd, so I don't know, wasn't always that way, but through work, I kind of formed that ability, I'd say. But I like to know things. So I like to know where I'm at. And I think through that, I kind of formed all this data. So
yeah. My advisor always said, what does the data tell you? Right. Let the data tell you what the result is. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it worked. Another live we got was, will there be a bourbon stage at IPRF Worlds?
100%. So
okay.
as you know, the last, I don't think I brought a bottle of bourbon last year, but the first Texas PRS championship, I brought.
Oh, you brought it both times.
Everybody signed it, and we handed it out to the skill stage winner. I'm a big fan of handing out bourbon because I think it builds camaraderie, at least for the folks that want to drink some of it. The rule is you always
Yeah.
have to open it. So I 100% plan to bring at least 2 or 3 bottles of bourbon to Italy. One is going to go to the match director. One's going to go to the property owner. You never know what we're going to get. And then one's going to go to like whatever skill stage. So we can sign them all,
Yeah, that's cool.
but that's the fun part about it. Someone will have a keepsake forever.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
flying around the world with a rifle to shoot a match is like a super affordable, easy thing to do, right?
Mhm.
You guys came up with a pretty cool way to kind of help offset the cost for the team by holding I don't even know what to call this thing. It's a combination of a raffle, a sale, and an auction. If you're watching us live, the link for this fundraiser, it's already in the live screen description, and we'll post it again someplace else. So someone tell us a little bit about what you guys got going on and how it works and how it's going to help.
Ruth?
Yeah. So I've been calling it a fundraiser, Greg, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to raise funds, right, for the team. So we have 22 people. 5 of those are youth, meaning they're under the age of 18, which means they legally have to have a parent with them for them to participate over in Italy with a rifle. So that means they have 2 people to pay for. For Justin and I, since we both made the team, we also have 2 people to pay for, and most of the rest of the team is so if you do the math on that, it ends up being pretty expensive for us to travel. And so the goal with the fundraiser is for us to raise enough funds to help offset some of that cost, so we can really, focus on the task at hand. So we put together this fundraiser. We talked to some of our favorite people in the industry to see if they could support us. We had a lot of people come out. We've got 5 different firearms that we're raffling off. So there's a really, really cool custom 1911 that Voodoo Gunworks has donated to us. Now, the photo that's in.
Whoa.
So the photo.
Buy some tickets, Corey.
Yeah. So you buy tickets for that. The Voodoo Gunworks in the 1911 is going to actually be a distressed flag. It's a custom build, one of a kind, and it's going to have a custom case that goes with it. So it's going to be super cool. And then Bergara donated actually 2 rifles. So they donated a B14 HMR, and they also donated a B14R, which is super awesome. And then Obsidian Arms is actually a local place up here. Corey, you should hang out with those guys since you love Minnesota companies. By the way, I grew up in Minnesota.
I saw me some primers down there from everyone's favorite Minnesota company.
Yeah, there's some primers on there too. So the Obsidian Arms is a super modern, high quality AR in 223 Wild. So it's really nice of them. They do a lot with the 3-gun world, but they make some really great parts. So they donated a rifle to us, and they're local to Minnesota, which is super fun. And then Daniel Defense, they donated a Delta 5 Pro, which is super exciting too. So all of those are raffle based. You can buy tickets for them and try to win. And then it looks like Gregg is buying one of our awesome Team USA stickers.
It's going to be a minute, Greg. You got to get in and put your credit card in there, buddy.
I'm literally just so glad this is being recorded.
It's up for a few more days if you want to wait. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So you have to put your address in to register. I did have that as optional originally, but then I ended up needing to email people and ask them for their mailing address anyway. So I'm the one that sees your address when you register. It's so that I can send you a thank you note primarily, just thanking you for your support, because this community is amazing. We wouldn't be here without all of the wonderful people in it and the amazing sponsors we have. So, I'm gonna send everybody a little thank you note who participates.
That's the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, there is no better
really
representative team than Ruth. Like the work that she's put into this. I mean, she created all the shooter profiles. She got all the information. She bird dogged me to get all the information to her. I mean, not only me, but 21 other people, probably including Justin.
Yes.
I mean,
He was
Sell
one
your
of the late.
stuff on-
It was like I did a little bit of public shaming by messaging people and put their first name in the last 5 in an email and said, hey, Justin was one of them.
It's amazing. I mean, you're a force in the sport, and I'm glad to call you a teammate because you do so much for our team. It's amazing. You know, the the leadership you show and the amount that you go the extra mile to get all this set up. I mean, it's Ruth that I know of. I mean, she's the one pushing all this stuff and getting it done. I mean, it takes the effort and time to do it. And I very much appreciate you and what you've done for us. So at least for me, thank you so much. So
Thanks, Greg. And likewise, so all the data people and the high detail people, that's cool. I'm good at wrangling cats, which is what most of this is.
yeah.
But yeah, I just you know, there's so many amazing people in this community and vendors that we work with to support our matches. And I knew that there was a lot of them that wanted to be involved and support the team, but you know, it just felt like you know, our ladies team is super young. And our guys team, you guys are amazing people with a whole plethora of talents, and none of which is organizing something like this. So I know my
Yeah. No, she's right. She's right. I'm a hammer.
I love these guys, but yeah,
Yeah. No, that's what makes everybody better. I appreciate you for sure.
I know my role. That's what it comes down to.
You're good at it. So
So let's say someone's watching right now and they're like, oh man, I'm an executive for this multi-billion-dollar firearms company. I'd love to donate a rifle to raffle off. Is it too late? Like,
no.
No, good question. So our auction and raffle will go through April 30th. So that gives plenty of time for us to continue to add things. We'll be posting from the USPRA Rimfire Team USA Facebook page any updates too as we add items, and we'll also be giving a shout out to the people who've already supported us, thanking them for that and highlighting some of the items that they donated. So there's some really cool stuff on the site. I highly recommend checking it out and getting out there. There's some stuff that still hasn't been bid on yet. We've only been open for 4 days, but you know, Short Action Precision just threw a bunch of stuff on there, and they have a new BMR and T1X magazine carrier, and they threw some of those on there along with some other magazine carriers and some slings, which is super cool. So there's some less expensive stuff in there, and then there's some, you know, high end, really expensive stuff in there, and then, you know, the firearms obviously are being raffled. So if you want to support the team but you don't really want to buy a raffle ticket or don't see anything you like, you're welcome to do a donation. For $5, I'll mail you a sticker, a Team USA sticker like Greg was buying. And then we're doing directed donations too, because I know there's a lot of people who, for example, really wanted to donate to the juniors team. So at the bottom, you can also donate specifically to different groups of people. And I will make sure that gets divvied up amongst those team members only. So lots of ways to participate.
I think it's fitting you put Boyd and Steiner beside each other. Probably like the best haircut, best beard. Like, you know what I mean? Two playboys. Look at it.
Mhm.
It's a handsome factory team right there.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Let's reiterate the fact that they got primers.
Yes, DST Precision donated some primers, and then our good friend JT Hall dug into his personal stash, and then yeah, we also got a brick of them from JT. So yeah.
So these are bid things right now, and the price is still cheaper than like unnamed bulk retailers on the internet.
Exactly.
It's like,
So it's a good time to get in.
indeed.
Yeah, there's a really cool metal flag on there too from King Skull Metalworks. That's had the most bids so far, which doesn't surprise me because it's super cool. But that's a lot of fun too.
If Jennifer
that's super cool.
be going crazy over that flag, she has one similar that she loved.
Hmm.
So
We're going
about-
crazy on them stickers.
Big fan.
They're super cool.
Pretty good. Like, Dan, look at all the stuff Ruth's doing. She got stickers made. Come on.
I made the team logo and then I was like, it's cool. I like it. I like how it turned out. So I'll make stickers out of it. I don't know.
Did you order your jersey yet, Ruth?
Say that again.
Have you ordered your jersey yet?
I did order my jersey.
So,
So I put the logo on it on the sleeve just for
oh,
funsies.
nice.
Yeah.
I'm plain Jane. There's only two things on my jersey: the C for captain and USCMC EGA. That's it.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
So-
So for those who don't know, Greg is our team captain, our fearless leader, the man we go to solve our problems for us.
I'll do it. Yeah.
That's funny. So we're about at the midpoint of the show. Remember, if you're watching us live on Facebook, ask any questions you may have in the comment section of the video. We'll ask it live on air if it's mildly appropriate, at least. Other ways to catch us, you can always check back on the Shooter's Mindset Facebook page. The videos all stay up there forever. We usually upload to all the podcast apps the night after the show. So you can take us on the road with us. And then finally, everything eventually ends up on the Shooter's Mindset YouTube page. So that's a great place to go back and look at the past 400 episodes, besides because we're on 401 now. So a little bit of exciting news that I know a lot of you guys have asked for over the past year and a half. Ruth and Gregg with 2Gs are not going to be the only people going to Italy. Jen and myself are working on a plan right now to come and do similar but better what we've been doing at AG Cup for the past several years, which is Jennifer running up behind people and being like, oh, they only need one more impact and then they'll make the final.
Don't do that in my
Say it
ear.
loud enough for Greg.
Yeah, at AG Cup, we were designed to be a stressor for the shooters. At this match, we won't be quite all up in there and talking like that, kind of out of the way, but we are going to do our best to get some really cool live footage for the entire match streamed worldwide. There's still a lot of logistics to work out. We're working to sell commercial spots on our live stream that's going to be global to help fund our trip, because again, we also found out it is expensive to get over to Italy.
Turns out.
Yeah.
Not cheap.
Not at all. Looking at
You're looking at about $8,000 before you buy food or drinks.
Yep, that's pretty much where we're at right now, and we have some pretty significant expenses. We're experimenting with a new Switch streaming platform that'll let us connect up to 9 iPhones to 1 iPad, so that instead of that whole standing around and being like, oh, we're gonna wait, there's deer down the range, so as soon as the deer leaves, hey, how was your dinner last night? We'll be able to switch stuff up from cameras, pre-recorded interviews, obviously some really cool commercials from some really awesome people. We still got a long way to go on this, but we are to the point that we decided to tell everybody about it.
Yay.
Nice.
That means you're committed now. So I'm
Yes,
excited.
I know this was
Good.
like there was a long conversation. Like, are we ready for this? Well, not really. So we're gonna go ahead and say it to push ourselves forward.
Yes. My
Heck
my
yeah.
answer was always yes. I sent him pictures of the Airbnb where we're staying and was like, Greg, if you're willing to stay on the couch, this pull out, then you guys can stay with us. And it's like, there's an indoor and an outdoor pool in this place. So it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, just
Yo!
I'm volunteering to live on a couch for a week for y'all. So there's that.
Yeah, I mean, you could be in San Francisco. You go already unhoused. You know.
So Tim asked about the training opportunities. So there's a couple of things that MPS is doing with the Team USA. So there's a group of 4 of us up here in this area that are going to do a training class in Wisconsin on the 15th of April. So that's coming up really soon, but we do have a couple of spots left for that one. And then there's also the training class on May 21st in Minnesota. There's going to be 10 of us there. So a whole group, including Gregg, Justin, Paul Dallin, just a bunch of the top shooters are going to be there for that one. So recommend people show up for that one too.
That's awesome. So that's anyone can show up, zero experience, trying to make it the next time as far as the 2-year cycle, nothing required?
Yeah. Yep, pretty much.
Nice.
We'll take care of it.
Do I need to have all of my match ready gear, or should I just say screw it, grab what I have and come?
We prefer if you show up with a 50-yard zero. We have tons of equipment and we have loaner rifles. So if you don't have something, the way we're gonna do the class on the 15th, we actually have you sign up and say, I have a 50-yard zero. If you need stuff and you need equipment, just let us know in advance. But for the class on the 21st, just given the fact that there's going to be so many instructors, we're going to do it more like a conference would be. So we'll have different stations with different instructors at them on different topic areas. And you can stay at one station, or you can go and you can spend an hour at this station, an hour at that station. We'll do a rotation. So people will have, opportunities to focus in and learn on really what they want to, or master 1 or 2 skills, or really get the variety. So each of us has different strengths, and we've been competing for different lengths of time, and we approach things totally differently. And, it's a great opportunity to learn from some of the top shooters in the nation and get those different perspectives. Ask the questions. We're going to do a panel at the end of the day where people can ask us questions. They'll hear multiple perspectives on the answers too. So I'm not sure that there's another place that you can go to get that many different perspectives from that many top level shooters in one place. So we think it's going to be pretty cool. We're
Yeah.
pretty excited about it.
No, that's an absolute huge value. And for someone that's getting into the sport, that can accelerate their progress more than a year, maybe, of just of struggling through it all.
Yeah.
And I mean, to be quite honest, a lot of those classes are much more expensive if you start looking at just even 4 instructors. So the value, I think, of that class can't be overstated. And then like when you're talking about learning from the different people, like learning from 10 different people, you're almost guaranteed to have someone that thinks in a way similar to you. And I guess the example that I have is Kate and I did a 30-minute thing after our local match, right? I'm 6'3", 220, Kate's, I don't know, 5 something, maybe 110 pounds. Like there's things that I do that she can explain why she does differently to the 8-year-old junior shooter that's at the match. So I think like if you're on the fence about something like that, having so many different people and body types, you're really going to see there's not really a limitation on what you're doing. It's just you might have to do it a different way, but that's probably an advantage for your body type.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because in our sport, that's so much, it's, you could describe it on one end as, weaponized math, the other in tactical yoga. And, the person that got me into all this is Jennifer, the, Miss former ballerina. And I look at something and be like, how am I going to shoot this? I think the first one was actually what we were talking about last week, shotgun match. There was 2 Texas stars that we had to shoot underneath a wall. And I'm like, how are you going to shoot that? And she goes, I'm going to do a split, and then I'm going to lean forward and use my boobs to prop myself up. And I'm like, all right, please, someone. I got none of that.
Got that?
Anything else?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sad that she's not on today, because I was really looking forward to having 2 ladies on here, because I thought it would be a really good time. But I went to a match, my first big match I ever shot like 4 years ago. And I was looking at my squad of guys and I'm like, okay, Marv, you're about my height. And so I walked up to Marv, I was like, Marv, you're about my height. How are you going to approach this? It was a rooftop and it was really tall and I wasn't sure how I was going to see over it. And he got so offended that I called him short, basically, that he's like, well, I'm going to go after you. How are you going to do it? So I crawled up there and sat like a frog on top of the rooftop, grabbing onto the edge. And he's just looking at me like, there's no way I could do that.
Yeah. And tie back to the training though. I mean, no matter what level of competition you are, don't be afraid to learn. Put your ego aside. Learn from your competitors. I mean, I've taken Chris Simmons' class. It's a good class. I mean, I learned from him. And here's the thing: I had to put my ego aside to do it. Right. I thought, well, it's how much money, whatever it is, but can I learn something else? Can I, if it's one thing that I pick up after 30 years of shooting, if I pick up one more thing that I haven't picked up in 30 years, it's worth it,
Mhm.
you know?
No,
So
for
no
sure.
matter what level
sure.
you're at, even if you're not a beginner, you're going to pick up more as not a beginner. Like if you come into an open mind and put your experience beside and listen to what people say and don't think about what you're going to say to them, right? Just listen.
Yeah.
You're going to gain a lot from it. I mean, especially on the mental side, like I'll help anybody on the mental aspect. So I've got a pretty good instructor with my wife on how to do it. She's been shooting archery, junior Olympics and farther on since she was 13 also. So she's a pretty good coach for me in that regard. So it's, you're gonna get a lot out of that training, in my opinion. Whatever you want to get out of it, you're gonna get out. We're gonna teach you
Yeah. And
if you ask,
that-
right? So,
that's a great way to put it, is like you get in your training like what you put in. Like if you come in with an open mind, you'll learn. If you come in like thinking I
Mhm.
can't possibly learn anything else, like, hey, you probably won't. Doesn't matter how
Mhm.
much like good stuff's there. But I agree with you. Like starting my seasons, I always start with a class, because one, it forces me to actually start dry firing. But two, I've taken the same class from the same instructor. He's a world champion and probably the best coach like there is.
who's that?
And you always pick up something new. Ben Staker, former,
Standard.
he's been on this podcast. Yeah, he's a pistol guy.
Okay.
Yeah, world champion pistol shooter. I mean, but he's constantly getting better. And so he's constantly changing what he's doing, and you're getting just a different perspective than what you normally get. Even if it's just, you go out with your friends. Let's say I'm friends with Gregg with 2Gs, right? And he's teaching me, he's teaching me, he's teaching me. If I go to Ruth's class, now I've got 10 other people not Gregg with 2Gs, and they're like you said, they're gonna have something different. It's awesome.
Hmm. Right. Right. And the other thing I'm always doing too, just to share with the community is, I don't know if anybody has read General Mattis's book, but one of the things he says in there is that if you're not constantly reading and educating yourself through books, you're functionally illiterate. So the one thing I'm constantly doing for mental sports, at least the mental aspect of sports, is I don't care if it's you're reading a book on like mental management for golf, shooting, something. There's something you can be doing, whether it's the win book, whether you're reading it for the second time. Like Rob Tucker recommended a good book, like Mind Gym, I think it was called. Listen to that a few times.
Yep.
There's so many different avenues, especially when you get up to like the top 10%, what you need to do mentally to like get yourself in the right
Right.
position. Keep thinking, like always thinking about different things. So it never stops. You should always be reading something, thinking about something if you want to compete at the level that we're at. So
Absolutely. I feel like we spend so much time and effort and money on gear, or the right ammo lot, or those types of things, and people forget that there's the mental aspect of the game, and there's also the training piece. I know, even still, Justin and I have each other to bounce things off of, which is really helpful. But taking a class, I learned so much more in that period of time. And I didn't cry at the range, which was a great thing, because, that's happened several times when Justin and I go. But, just hearing from a different perspective, the same thing. I was being told the same thing that Justin told me 100 times, but it clicked differently because it was told to me differently. And all of a sudden it started to make sense. And that really upped my game. So, I just can't stress enough, find whatever class out there exists. If you can't make it to these ones, that's totally fine. Just look for some kind of training and get that outside perspective.
I gotta push back on the gear thing. I think you can buy wins with gear. I've read it several times on the forums.
only plates,
Okay.
bags of tennis.
So getting that just completely out of here. Rimfire 2 years ago, right? Used to be guys saying it's practice for center fire. Nowadays, it's its own sport. So like fundamentally, if you were to pick two things that are different or one thing that's different in rimfire, what's the biggest difference for the people that shoot center fire and rimfire, and or maybe don't shoot one? What's the biggest difference in the rimfire now?
Yeah, let me start. So I would say on the East Coast,
Mhm.
rimfire has been big right along with centerfire, because we didn't have the range or the bigger national organization to tag on to. Well,
Okay.
I would to answer your second question. The thing is call and wind. So I've watched centerfire pros come into this and shoot and think that they're going to do well, and they have the fundamentals. But what screws you up is you can't load development. You've got to spend all this time to get a lot of ammo that miraculously shoots through your gun. And you think you can tune it out, but this gun don't have a tuner on it. It never will. Like if you put the time in to get your ammo right, but it takes a lot of time. So the transition back and forth, you can't just grab a box. In my opinion, you can't just grab a box of ammo and think you're going to compete in the top 10. It ain't going to happen. So you have folks that might try to transition from centerfire over. The next thing you know, their ego gets hurt because they're getting beat by someone who's 30th place in centerfire, right? And now they're way down the bottom of the list. So I would say the biggest thing to transition is one, you got to mentally be able to do it. You got to be able to come from. There's only a few people I've seen transition from centerfire: Slade, Steiner, probably the only two I can really think off the top of my head who are top tier centerfire shooters who came over, right? Dolan, right? The rest of the people are rimfire shooters. I think once you transition over, if you don't have that part of your game tight, your ego won't let you get past not shooting well. So you got to have an ego that lets you learn, and then two, be able to do all the extra work to get your data up to speed. And once you get your data up to speed, you've got the fundamentals. In my opinion, what do you think, Ruth?
Yeah. I'm just gonna say wind is a thing that affects rimfire very differently than centerfire. So
Yeah.
like I said,
Like
you
a
can't
tailwind.
load for it. And the other piece of kind of taking a little bit of what you were saying about the load development, there are always inconsistencies. The best match grade ammo there, you're still going to get the occasional flyer. So to know and be able to filter that out and still keep your wits about you, that's really what this game is about. It's about adapting and having that ability. It's you don't get to watch trace. You can see bullets occasionally, depending on the glass that you have, but there's a lot more components to it. That said, I don't shoot a lot of centerfire. And it's mostly a time thing for me. I love that I can grab a brick of ammo and go out and shoot. And I'm probably less I'm probably one of the few people who don't do a lot testing. So I just grab a brick of ammo and I don't care what lot it is, and it shoots really well through my gun, and that's all great. But that's pretty uncommon, I'd say, in this game. And my gun just happens to like every
You
lot.
shoot R50 though, that's probably why.
Yeah, RWS R50 is what I'm shooting. So yeah,
It's solid. I recently just started testing it, Ruth. I grabbed, so example, if the rimfire shooters will get this, and I don't want to put a run on R50, but I bought 4 lots, all 3 different speeds, all shot the same hole, and all were within a few feet per second of each other, and all within a couple inches, like a 1-inch group at 200. It's just stupid good, but it's also like $22.50 a box. So,
right. Yeah, it's amazing.
And Lapool will do it.
You're
So
about
will
to make me
Can't
feel
find it.
poor with this.
Lapool will do it. So will Center X won't do that, but
Yeah.
Center X.
you probably got to go exact or a super long range to get that kind of results. But
I'm happy with the test center option, because I did a lot of mock testing at first, and then that was just a pain. And thankfully the test center, although it's 9.5 hours for me, it's like 35 minutes for my little brother.
Nice.
So went up there to visit him and spent Monday morning as the sun came up shooting 16 different lots through and bought enough ammo. We just lost to Gregg for a couple of years. That's just because I don't shoot a lot. I think if I did that I think Gregg was talking about shooting 3 days a week at lunch plus a match every weekend. Yeah, that would not last me 2 years, but by not shooting a lot.
Yeah, I had to post publicly a few times, like, who has the short chamber RWS R50, because that's what I've been shooting, and it works so well through my gun. I just want to get through worlds, and I'm like running pretty low. So anyone have this? And I found a couple local guys that had a couple bricks left. And anyone else, shout out if you have any short chamber RWS R50. I know who will buy it from you. But
Yeah.
it's good stuff. There's a
It's
lot
good
of good
stuff,
people out there.
but unless okay, so let me put it this way. If you're not in the top 5 and you have no aspiration to be in top 5, do you think it really matters what you're buying?
Not, I
That's
mean,
the cool part about Rimfire though.
Yeah. Yep, agreed. And the really cool part is that you don't have to sit and reload. So that's
Well,
that's my
there's other ways around that, Ruth.
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, so I've been thinking about doing a little more center fire, but if I do, I'm definitely gonna have to shoot factory ammo because I just don't have the
Yeah.
time. I mean, when you're match directing and trying to travel to compete and all that stuff, there's no time left to do reloading. There's hardly time to practice.
No,
So
you're right. But the nice thing about any competitive sport is that industry will make a solution for it. And with even center fire and rimfire, the ammo's getting way better. And
It
you're
is.
seeing companies really develop stuff, not just for like your bench rest 50-yard match anymore or your indoor nationals, but you're starting to see the super long range stuff. So I think it's cool. I think it's really nice that you don't have to go out and spend a whole bunch of money in different ammo lots and just buy it.
Yeah, for sure. The biggest thing is the more rounds you can get down your rifle, the better the shooter you're going to be. You know, you
Yeah.
got to develop that experience. The other piece of Rimfire is it's really a good way to get new shooters involved. It's quieter, so a lot of us don't
God,
have
yes.
there's very much more conversational. You can ask more questions. The community
Yeah.
itself, I've never experienced anything like it. So I love that it's very friendly to females and friendly to youth who want to get involved. Oh, and Gregg's got a suppressor on his. Yeah, so the
Oh,
shot
shout out
timer.
suppressors.
Yes.
Yes.
Like
You-
suppressors are awesome. Suppressed bolt action 22s.
They're so quiet.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. They're so quiet. The neighbors don't know what you're doing.
Exactly. I keep telling Kristen.
Neighbors. I don't have any.
So kind of a tangent here, but putting rounds down range is kind of something you mentioned gets you much better as far as like calling wind and all the things that you have to see on the target. How does the target move? But how do you think dry fire translates to rimfire? Because I know a lot of center fire guys that don't believe in dry fire.
We do it all the time. So you know, there's the DST Precision does this, you know, dry fire DFAT, and it's
Mhm.
super popular with people getting into rimfire. People run that all the time because you can attach it to your scope and change your field of view. So you only need like 10 yards basically to set up a whole
Right.
range indoors. So a lot of people, we dry fire all the time. It's something where you, in my opinion, reinforcing my fundamentals. So I focus on one thing at a time because if you're going to dry fire, you need to do it right. You don't want to reinforce bad habits, especially because you don't have that confirmation of that ring of steel
Right.
or the punishment of a miss, right? But theoretically, let's say you have good fundamentals, but there's something that you're working on. You know, I sit and focus on one thing at a time, and I make sure that my trigger pull is correct every single time, and I'm developing that muscle memory. So I think it can be hugely beneficial, and it's great to figure out which positions you're most stable in. I can't imagine not dry firing as a competitive edge, or why you wouldn't want to for those reasons alone.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I sent you guys kind of my like block 1 training, and that's the one thing I look at is the hindrance to PRS or NRL style shooting is folks get into it. Let's say you're 28 years old, you're 25-year-old. You're past the point in your life where you've dedicated time. Like if you started a sport whenever you were a kid, let's say you're a wrestler, you wrestle every day for how many hours a day, tennis, whatever it is, you're forming subconscious skill. What
Yeah.
doesn't happen to a lot of shooters is they never put the reps in to form subconscious skill. So like the first thing I tell people if I'm going to train you is I need to see you put in hours and hours a week to form subconscious skill. We're not going to get to block 2. I'm not going to teach you how to shoot a match, any of that, because it's not important yet. Like, you've got to put in thousands of reps just thinking about fundamentals, not how to hold over, how to dial. But if you're a new shooter and you're brand new, I don't even want to go to the next skill level until I know you've got natural point aim, cheek weld, body position, all those things ironed out, and they're ironclad before we start thinking about how to dial your turn or how to hold over, because you got to get that right first before your brain can even think about the other stuff and get that other right through your subconscious. So that's how it's done. It's done through reps. It's done through dry fire. I mean,
Do you really think it takes hours a week of dry fire?
if you're brand new, like
If you're brand new and you want to compete at the top levels, it's much
Yeah.
easier if you want to compete at the top level to start with
Yeah.
the proper fundamentals, because I had to learn those things. It was
Mhm.
I think I was listening to Regina Milkovich on a podcast at one point, and she kept mentioning NPA, and I didn't know what it meant. So I'd asked Justin, and he told me it's natural point aim, and I was like, what
Mhm.
does that mean? And I'd been
Yeah.
shooting for a year. Learning that earlier would have helped me to not cheat, I guess. So I don't think it takes a ton of time to get started in this by any means. But if you really, really want to be like top tier, winning national level matches, it doesn't hurt to start with proper fundamentals.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah,
if
I guess.
you were in a process-driven sport before, and you could
Mhm.
learn a process quickly, then you're probably going to pick it up quicker, right? Like Morgan with bull ride or roping, like, right? I don't know how much time he put in dry firing, but the man's phenomenal. So I think if you were in a process-driven sport prior, you might be quick. You might pick up a process quicker because your work ethic knows how to pick it up. But if you're just coming in as never had a sport prior and didn't have the fundamentals, it didn't even know what the fundamentals are. It's a lot. I mean, you think you need the reps to get them in there. Maybe not hours. Maybe that's a bit extreme, but my opinion is 15 minutes a night. So
Okay, so that's kind of what I was thinking, right? Because
minimum.
consistency versus total time, right? If you're doing something, even if it's just 15 minutes a day, if you set everything aside, set the phone down, don't listen to some like podcast in the background, and just focus on one skill for 15 minutes, and you kind of, plan it out, maybe miss Sundays, maybe miss match days. You end up with 5 days a week where you have 15 minutes. That's not that much time. That's under an hour and a half a week.
On the
But I
clock
mean, you
time.
can,
Right? That's what I'm
right,
looking.
but yeah, but you don't really lose the skills that you developed. So it's always something that I wonder, like, how much time do you really need to get better at the sport when you maybe the guy that just doesn't want to win worlds but wants to win his local match, or like the first, maybe they want to be top 10. Like, is it really that different? It's probably the same, like just consistency.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
I probably don't want to admit this publicly, but I will, because that's just the person I am. I don't hardly practice ever. I don't dry fire hardly ever. And not saying that that's what people should do, but I try to shoot a lot of matches. I spend a lot of time trying to get in the right headspace, and my equipment works. So if you get those things set up, I think you can be highly competitive, with reliable equipment, mental preparation, without necessarily putting hours into practice time.
Mhm.
I just shot a
Yeah.
ton of matches, and I took some
Get a-
training, reinforced that training with some
Yep.
dry fire.
Yeah.
And that helped a lot.
You got to break up your
Yeah.
practice too. Like, I have dry fire days, mostly in the winter. I don't
Mhm.
dry fire in the summer at all. And then I have live fire days where I mostly do drop drills on paper. And then I have data research days. Those are still days where you're gaining information. Like, all of it, you have to think about, I'm gaining information. And then I have
Okay.
days where I'm just thinking about wind. I'll go for a walk and I'll freaking take my wind. What should be swearing? I'll take my Kestrel with me and I'll look at wind.
Yeah.
I'll hang flags up. I'll think about wind. But it could be any kind of practice. It's all the same. Like, if you shoot 3Ds, you're guessing yardage all the time. Everywhere you go, you're thinking about how far away is that target, right? It's a similar mindset. You could always be thinking about it. And you want to gear that up. Like you can't run at a high octane all year long. You've got to think about when do you want to ramp and when do you want to peak. And that's when you got to put it in or you're going to burn yourself out.
That could be in a
Yeah. Yeah, that's why after the big matches, it's just straight hunting season.
There you go.
Steiner said he used to shoot 15,000 plus rounds of 223 a year when the world went to hell.
Well, primers went out.
Yeah.
Bush was in presidency.
Yep. And he also said once you create solid muscle memory, practice changes and you can use less live ammo, which is true. And I think that's what a lot
Let's
of
ask him about his trigger squeeze. How's that working out, Steiner?
He gets a running start, right? That's how you're supposed to do it.
I kid you not. I shot for a year and then I was laying at the range one day with Justin. We were practicing something, I don't remember. And I was like, are you supposed to be relaxed when you're laying prone? I was like tensing everything up for like a year every time I shot to like hold everything still. Oh man, you guys, it's pretty good times.
Yeah.
I
That's
guess
where a lot
let's
of
hear in
youth
the comments.
So I guess the one thing I want to touch on before we head out, I don't know how long this goes, is like what we're going to do to bring youth into the sport. I had a good call today from Dick Hedges. He's down in Florida. He has a really good connection with youth shooters down there where he's working with schools and stuff like that, trying to figure out a way. I think the one thing I want to work on is one of my goals this year is how to figure out how to bring some of these like historic clubs, right? So we have a lot of schools around here still that have rifle teams. How do you engage those folks? Like, how do you bring them in? And that's something one of the things I look at. You know, I've thought about it for years. Like, how do I do it? How do I bring them in? And that's going to be something I want to try to bring a focus group in like this year and think about because it's the next generation of our sport. Like I stopped shooting three position because there was 8 guys, right?
Yep.
And you know, it just wasn't there. Like, why buy a $5,000 rifle if you're going to shoot with the same 8 people all the time, right? So getting that growth, I think, is going to be my next emphasis as I look at like what I'm going to do the next few years versus just be a competitor. So
Yeah.
So let's kind of talk down through that because one of our next question was about, do we think Rimfire has a higher potential to grow the shooting sports because of everything that it is versus centerfire?
I say
Yeah.
that and I wouldn't limit air guns either. I mean, there's a lot of liberal states out there who are afraid of guns, and air guns is a way to get them in, especially the Europeans. I mean, air guns are already growing as far as like 3-position teams and rifle teams in the schools they've transitioned. So I don't know how competitive they'll be. I'm not an air gun shooter, but I think that and rimfire are you want to say economical, but this all costs a lot of money, right? But it's a way that you don't have to buy a lot of components a lot to get involved in practice and put in reps. It depends like which sport we're looking at growing. Are you speaking like centerfire?
No, rimfire. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Ruth?
Which stuff?
Yes. So I feel like the rimfire world is just a little bit more reachable for younger people, especially. I mean, it's nice for the ladies too, and not every lady's wired this way, but a lot of the people I talk to, there's a confidence factor that comes into play. Having a community that's very focused on everyone's success is super helpful. I don't know why there is a difference though between the community in centerfire and rimfire. There's a lot of overlap, but I really feel like the rimfire world is so welcoming to new people.
Yes.
And the conversation piece of it's huge. Is definitely something that contributes positively to bringing new people in and younger people in. Having equipment that's set up properly for younger people or shorter people.
Yeah.
And less recoil, less intimidating. So, having those components in, I think we're in a unique position to really grow the sport to people who normally wouldn't be around guns. And I think that that's a really good way for us to kind of shut down the Second Amendment debate is to invite more people into the sport, and to get them educated on firearms so that, you know, these common sense laws don't be, you know, all of a sudden don't make much sense, you know, once you're educated on what we're talking about. So the more we can spread it around, the better off I think we'll be. And I think Rimfire is a great avenue for people to start.
Yeah, I completely agree. One of the things that we try to do is really overemphasize the fact that there's youth, like really young kids, like 12 years old, doing well at matches, not just coming out, but competing with adults and having fun. And we do the same thing for ladies. So as me, I can't get ladies to come out, but Ruth can get her friends to come out. And we see the same thing with especially teenage females, where they're bringing their friends out and it's fun. They're doing it together. Prentice and I are not like able to target this demographic, but social media and, you know, talking to the families and the dads, we can kind of explain that the Rimfire in particular, there's no real limitation on size or anything other than your ability to mentally shoot. And so highlighting that, especially in social media, has been super helpful for us, getting that type of demographic out.
Yeah, and that's, you know, I think the two of you have done a better job at your matches than I have. My match is a lot smaller than y'all's. And I do, sometimes I'll have a match and I'll have, you know, 15-20% youth shooters, about the same with ladies. Sometimes it's a little more, sometimes it's, I just won't have that division. I always have the old guys. They're always there.
They're always there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, we mentioned it earlier. I mean, like our second place shooter in our point series now is 15-year-old and female. So they're definitely kicking some serious tail.
I know what that's like up here in the Northeast. We've got really
Oh,
high, a very high ranked lady shooter who was a youth at one time.
I heard there
that's
might
good.
be one up that way somewhere.
A spirit animal, something like a murder rabbit or something.
Yeah.
So okay, if you can see into the future, where is Rimfire in 5 years? Is it bigger than Centerfire? Is it just totally different? Is everyone putting a tuner on their gun? I'll go there. I'll go
I
there.
hope not. I hope not. I'm not selling tinted, but I don't know, man. If you put the work in with actually lot testing your stuff, I don't think you're gonna get a cheat code. There's no cheat code to Rimfire. You can't slap a tuner. In my opinion, you just can't slap one on and think you're gonna miraculously cure putting in hard work and finding a good lot.
Bro, that's an easy sell though. You can slap it on and shoot better.
And yeah, just take the jab. You'll never get it.
Yeah. Oh god. Okay, so 5 years.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's growing. I mean, we look at the growth we've had in the last 2 years. We've been shooting Rimfire in the Northeast before a lot of the big series were even the thing 5 years ago, and we had 20, 30 people in a match. Now we've got matches every other weekend with 40 plus people. It's amazing. Like I don't know if it's sustainable. I'm not sure, but I like to think that it is. But there's just so much growth right now. It's you know, it's a lot of the same shooters shooting every weekend too. So it's how long they can sustain that, I think, is part of it. What do you think, Ruth?
Yeah.
Where do you see? You got a pretty good pulse.
Yeah. I think we're advancing. So, you know, we're looking at that next level of competition, and how to make things more competitive. We spent quite a bit of time, Justin and I, with Midwest Precision, putting together a match director guidebook. The goal of that is, you know, there's a lot of really experienced PRS match directors for Centerfire, and there just wasn't there's a lot more match directors in Rimfire that they're just starting out or have never hosted a match before or things like that. So we threw this together for that reason. I feel from conversations with people based on that and feedback I've gotten from it, and there are way more people interested in the sport that had never been involved before, which just means that the growth is kind of infinite at this point.
Mhm.
You know, we don't have a limitation And then the shortage, the component shortage, that really, you know, pushed people to participate in Rimfire that maybe were otherwise involved in center fire sports. So I think I see it growing. I see it advancing. You know, hopefully we keep that focus on, you know, there's a space for the beginners to get started, but then creating this new space for the advanced shooters who are really focusing in on Rimfire and nerding out on it, to kind of step to that next level. So.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah. And so Ruth's been a little humble. And when she said they put out a handbook for match directors, it's like 40 some pages and it's phenomenal. It's like published by Macmillan. I mean, it's someone sent it to me, like, have you read this? And I opened it up and I was like, oh my goodness. It's an incredible resource. And how many hours did you and Justin put into that?
Months. Hours, months. We didn't stop talking about this for probably a good year. We were talking about sections to put into it and how to build stuff out, based on our experiences. So
it covers everything. And I've been sending out to local match directors here that are new. And I'm like, hey, what do I do? Read this. Thank her. You know, like it's amazing. I think where we see it going, I mean, I think the IPRF, let's get back to like what we're talking about with the USA team. This world recognition of it is going to raise the bar. I've already seen it as far as who attended championships last year. For sure, folks attended the PRS championship as an avenue to get to worlds last year. And it's going to happen again this year. Folks are going to shoot more, try to shoot a bigger stage to make that world venue. And that world venue is going to raise the bar, in my opinion. And it's going to bring about, hopefully, like, we're running a few 2 days this year as like a test. I'm running one, a couple of guys are running one, but I know Ruth, you've talked about 2 days on the NRL side. We're going to see something develop, hopefully organically and well, where we will work to over the next few years, that it's a good competitive, you know, healthy, functional competition, right? How it all
so
happens.
those 2 day matches, right?
Yeah.
How many of those are there? And I kind of know a little bit of the backstory, so stop me if this is something you don't want to discuss. But there's some
Sure, no, I'm fine.
stipulations on kind of the format and the cost and things like that. Given kind of the history of the sides of the sports that seem to flourish are those that you really just let the match director do what they think will be fun, right? Where
Depends.
NRLX
If you
grew
think
out of
offhand is
NRL.
fun, folks have never, like, I like offhand, but sometimes, like, certain things, certain things they think are fun, right?
But do you think that there would be 2 days this year, a set number of 2 days, if you just said, have fun, no stipulations, no anything, pricing, number of stages, nothing is.
Yeah, sure. I think there would be, but I think what you want to try to gauge is what do you want it to become, right?
Right.
So, I think pricing could gauge the market. You could see how well someone prices it, whether based on their attendance. You also have to look at, like, what are the matches are in the area that they're competing against. You could look at, you know, how they structure their match, how many stages they have, what kind of reward or engagement they try to build into it. Like, for example, the 2 day that I'm running, I'm really thinking about how do I get engagement at every level. That is very meaningful.
What do you mean by engagement? So are you talking about making sure, like, the new guy, it's his first match, he just showed up for a 2 day, he gets something? Or are you talking about, like,
so I want people to feel like, my goal is, I'll walk through. My goal is I want people to feel how I feel, right?
Okay.
When I go to a match, I feel like I've always got a chance, right? That I feel like I'm always in the winning, I'm always in the running, and that I'm engaged, right? And I don't know that everyone feels that way. And what I want to try to create, at least with mine, is a way where you're peered on day 2 with your peers. So the way I'm running it is this: day 1, you shoot with your friends, because that's a big element of our sport, is community. And I've heard
that's
a lot
the
of
reason
people
you travel
through
across
squatting.
the country in an 18-person van with 10 dudes and all their stuff. Like,
They
you
want to shoot
care about
together
those
day 1.
dudes.
Yeah. So the way I'm doing is day 1, you shoot with your friends. Okay. Day 2, you're peered based on where you finished day 1. And then everyone shoots the same 10 stages to day 1. You shoot a different 10 stages day 2. And day 2, your money stays in your squad. So let's say, 1 through 3 is open for everybody, no matter what squad you're in. If you win first, you get first. But if you're in squad 2 and you win squad 2, you get squad 2's money. So on day 2, you can look at the 10 people beside you and know that, 1, they're peered with you. They've shot similar to you day 1. And 2, you've got a chance. Whether you're in squad 2 or you're in squad 9. You're
Do you
gonna
think money
feel
motivates
some
someone to
engagement.
go across the country though? Like, I mean, you've got probably a $10,000 rifle. It's something like 7,000-8,000. It's on a $1,000 tripod. Do you really think money is the motivator? Like, what grows the sport? Is it?
Yeah. Well, I think engagement's a motivator. So I think that them coming, right? So 1, it's a high level match. 2, I think it's a feeling of engagement. And how do you create it, right? Do you create it with a prize table? I don't really think so. I think you
No,
create
I
for a
agree.
prize
No
table for
chance.
15 people.
Well, it's the
But
same
I
thing.
think
A
there's
prize
gonna be
table's money.
there's a feeling of match pressure that I want everyone to have. And that
Yeah.
feeling, like when I go to a big match and I'm nervous, I'm happy that I'm nervous because I know I've earned that piece of nervousness, right? And I want people to feel that on day 2. I want someone in squad 9 who's competing against 10 people. They all have a little bit of competitive nature to know that $400, they might not think it's a lot of money, but it's a mental thing. It gives them a feeling of these are the 10 ladies and guys that are around me. We're going after it together. It hasn't been done yet. And I want to get feedback. I'm going to put a survey out. I kind of want to know if it gets engagement, because how do you get engagement? Let's say one of your pro matches, engagement. Like, how do they feel included in the match at number 90?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's an interesting way of thinking about it. Like the juice for you and like that feeling for you is why you're doing it. And
100%.
it's an interesting, it's interesting to come from that perspective.
I
Yeah.
like it a lot because it's, I'm probably the worst shooter in this little podcast right now. But I think that it's really cool to have an attainable goal. It's like when the PRS introduced the trophies for top marksman, top amateur, top semi-pro, all that stuff, where it's just something that's within reach, that for those of us that are not at the level where, busting it out really hard, getting ready for this match will bring us from our, 70-80% up to winning or even third place. I think it's really cool. I think there's going to be a lot of planning, and you seem to be the numbers man and good with figuring stuff like that out. So I think you can take care of it. But I like it from a mid-pack shooter. I think that it's really cool to, instead of, oh, there's 200 people that I have to beat, it's it's the 10 of us and we're going to go have our own mini match.
On
Yeah,
day
and I
2,
think-
and you've earned that spot. I don't think that there's room in the market personally for more pro matches that are prize table driven. I mean, we've got a lot of pro 2 days on the center fire side, and I just don't think the market is going to be big enough. It's not fair. It's not fair to sponsors to demand more. You don't ask more, right? You must demand
No.
more. But personally, that's how I'm going to do it for all mine. I think other people are going to try other things, and I'm interested to see how shooters respond, how they engage. But you have to have the other stuff. You have to have a good lunch. You have to have, all the other things with it. Or
Right.
you've got these people.
Good course of fire.
Great.
Everything's clean.
100%.
There's ladies' restrooms. There's
Yes.
a lot of
They're
restrooms.
clean.
Thank you.
Yep.
They're clean.
And so it's a lot of different ideas, but I think they're all getting back to how do you provide the most value for the guy that's he's not just buying a match, he's spending a weekend, or they're traveling as a family, especially in Rimfire. How do you give them the value that it's not just another match, it's a vacation and it's an event, and they look forward to that all year. So I think
Mhm.
I think everyone's looking at that same perspective, and it's an interesting thought. Like, how do you give them the feeling that you travel?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think so I think Matt commented Rimfire match directors should travel to up their game. I fully agree. I think that shooting matches and traveling to other parts of the country to shoot matches really helped us up our match director game. I will say, Corey, you're skirting around so many things that I want to talk about that I can't yet from the
All
NRL
right.
20 side of things.
Let's go.
But
Let's drop some knowledge bombs.
yeah, well, okay, so there's some exciting things coming up this year from NRL 22 that hopefully will answer some of these. At least it's our initial attempt to address a lot of those things. So, create that whole match experience on a different level. And we do a really good job in the monthly series, the X series. 1-day matches have been really successful. So we're just, we're planning some stuff that we'll announce, we're gonna announce soon here. But I think that the stuff you're talking about is going to happen sooner rather than later, based on some insider information. Stay tuned. Maybe have me back in a couple months when I can talk more freely about some of the details of it.
Get her a drink. We got to get some information out of it.
We'll have
But
you
yeah,
on after you
and then
win
I think
Worlds, right?
with Gregg and Matt Steiner running the Rimfire stuff for the PRS side, there's some exciting stuff happening there too. Like Gregg's innovating all the time, and we're all friends. So working together to advance the whole sport
Mhm.
organizations, I think, is huge, and that's going to be a huge benefit.
So last question is obviously the easy one. What's your goal for this match, this IPRF World Championship?
Bringing home the gold.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I want to shoot well, but I also want to be there to help in any way I can for our juniors, our ladies, our seniors, and everybody else. So, I mean, it's a total focus. It's just not I'm focused on the open team. I'm focused on the whole team, right?
Okay.
I rooted on the ladies in France more than anyone else in that team. Like, if I could have placed a bet in Vegas that the ladies in France swept the field,
Oh yeah,
I would
I
have
would
put
have bet the house, bet the
Yeah.
house, bet the farm.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at. Like, my goal is that the ladies sweep the field. Like, if that happens, I'm a happy boy. So,
Yeah,
goals.
We got a
goals.
really talented group, so it should be a good time. I'm excited.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we are good on live. So we could go ahead and wrap this up to shout outs. This is the part where I got to be Jennifer again. What does she say? This is the part where we make Corey go first. Corey.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just gonna shout out a few Texas Precision matches for all the fun stuff that we do. Way bad for keeping my cheeks comfy. JP Rifles, Federal, Vortex, and Hunters HD Gold.
All right. How about you, Ruth?
I have a little bit longer list because I'd like to mention everyone who sent stuff for the fund. And
It's not a
also,
contest.
for those of you who really want to check out the fundraiser, there's some really sweet stuff on there from Apex Optics. We got a set of binos, Vortex Optics, always like phenomenal supporters of everyone in our organization. So, those guys rocking the Vortex hats. Mantis donated an X10 Elite training program. So that's definitely worth a look, especially if you want to up your own game. So that was a pretty cool thing. Tacticam sent us a long range package, so you can actually record both through the scope, and you can also have a separate one that's included in the package that you can record through a spotter, so you can get both views of the target and through your reticle at the same time, which is super cool. Athlon Optics sent us a Midas Tech scope. Zeiss and GA Precision donated $1,000 cert off of any Zeiss product through GA Precision, and then GA Precision also donated a chamber and muzzle thread job. So those are some pretty cool things from those guys. XLR sent us not just one but 3 Element 4 chassis. So they don't include the buttstock. They have a really cool buttstock, but it'll also take any AR buttstock too. And then Wiser Precision donated a chrono mount. So it's kind of like a nice way you can add their chrono mount pro on and off your rifle pretty quickly. So if you don't want to mount it to your barrel, you can do it on that device as well. And then shout out to Joe Knapp. He donated a couple things to our fundraiser as well. One of our local shooters, who's a pretty cool guy. That's all I got.
So I have the Wiser mount. I love it. Simmons recommended it. He has one, and it's super light, goes on easy, mounts really well. Gray Ops Precision, Dave Preston, always doing everything for the sport. I mean, he's looking to help out the Rimfire team here, going to Italy with some discount codes and some stuff, and he's always helping on every match that's out there. Short Action Precision, I got this sweet hat, as well as all the other stuff from them, and they donated to the team. And really, I mean, just the big Rachel Precision for helping out one of our junior shooters, Dakota Wright. They recently sponsored her. Thank you for all the work you put in to making her gun shoot well and helping her out. And then really, like, the big focus I have, besides for, I'm not a sponsored guy, is what you do to help each other out. Is don't think about how you get a leg up on your competitor, but think about how you can help them. Because if they get better, you get better. And that's the emphasis for our region and how we look at sportsmanship. So I'll leave you with that: is sportsmanship first, bring your competitors up, get better through that.
Awesome. And then for me, I'm going to keep it short and sweet tonight. I'd just like to thank both of y'all for all the work you're putting in towards our team. I'm ready to see lots of gold coming back. I want to see those podiums stacked in red, white, and blue. Hopefully in person, and live streaming it for all of you guys watching now.
Definitely in person.
Definitely in person. I mean, I've already paid for the Airbnb.
Love it.
So yeah. But if that, this is a wrap for episode 401, and we will see y'all next time.
Peace.